Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Lab. Sitting with you, as always, you got Alex, Lewis, Brandon, and of course, another little one to add, Peyton. No. So Peyton's going to be contributing majority of the information today. But today, what we're going to talk about is exercise variation, why it's important, and maybe even sprinkle a little bit of information about the law of accommodation. So just to kind of lead things off, before we kind of get anything, the lab is now officially 1 year old. So we have finally hit our first birthday since the inauguration episode back in November of last year, which is kind of crazy to think about. Does not feel like it's been a year.
Feels longer.
I know. Oh, it's crazy to think about. It's nuts to think about. And then to kind of complete our giveaway, the winner of the lab t-shirt is Adam Grisham. So I'll be reaching out to you, buddy. So you have won yourself a lab shirt. We appreciate everyone that did tag people in that, and we'll do some more of that later on, maybe include a few different things. I got a little something coming for you guys. I'm kind of excited for that too. But yeah, a year in the lab. If you would have told me that we would have a podcast that is basically being listened to in 15 different countries right now, I would have called you crazy. I would have called you crazy last year. It turned into, let's just sit down and, pardon my language, Peyton, but shoot the shit. And here we are now. A year out. 15 countries, and oh man. It's fun. Fun stuff. But
that's wild.
To lead. I know, isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Did not think it'd been a year already. Then I got that notification by email. I was like, holy crap, it is a year. But let's kind of going into our topic then for today. So exercise variation, why is it important? Maybe personally, scientifically, why? And then maybe what you guys utilize yourselves to kind of make sure you're keeping things fresh. But obviously exercise variation is important for a variety of reasons. If you want to get technical on it, exercise variation kind of helps to prevent that the law of accommodation, right? So the more you're consistently exposed to a particular stimulus, whether if it's weight, speed, etc., your body's going to kind of adapt to it, right? So you become better at handling whatever your body is getting basically exposed to. So if that stimulus never changes, or you never change the movement pattern, you never change where the load's at, etc., your body's going to get really good at handling that. So then you won't see the benefits from said movement. I think sometimes it can also make things boring. I mean, that's just my own opinion, but I think stagnation, being bored with your workouts, just it makes you not want to do it anymore. So, I mean, exactly, Peyton. Exactly. Glad you're on the same page, bud. Glad you're on the same page. But I'm kind of curious to see what you guys have found with like exercise variations, especially like maybe what variations you guys have incorporated just to kind of keep things fresh, keep progress steady, and maybe the different things you guys have learned over the years with programming.
I would stick to the 7 basic movements. How you kind of spread those 7 basic movements out is where the variation comes in. As long as there's a press, a pull, a rotation, a hinge. Mm-hmm. The 3 others I can't think off the top of my head, but you kind of start spreading those out. So you got, if it can be a lateral lunge, it can be a reverse lunge, a forward lunge, it could be a front squat, a back squat, it could be an RDL for a hinge, it could be a good morning for a hinge. So like, as long as I'm staying within those 7 basic frames, I mean, I'm not going to get too carried away. Like some people start getting in the variations of, I don't have anything against them, but like the Turkish get-ups and like kind of you start getting a little bit kind of more off from the 7 basic things is when I kind of start thinking, all right, are we just adding this in because people do think sometimes it does get boring, which I mean, you do the same lift, basically the same lifts for years and years and years. And that's where you kind of start building that foundation and the strength and stuff like that. So as long as it doesn't get too crazy outside of those 7 basic things, variations can be very wide.
Yep. Well, and it helps people mentally stay in the game too, because
Mhm.
now you don't have like, let's say you did a back squat today, and next week you have to take another back squat, and of course you want to hit like a PR, and then the week after that you're supposed to back squat again, and you're supposed to do another PR. Well, eventually, like once your newbie games run out, those PRs like start drifting further and further apart.
Mhm.
So if you add in different variations or different bars, different, accommodating resistance as far as like bands and chains,
Mhm.
then you can create new variations in order to hit PRs. So then you can constantly be um, analyzing your training as well through the different variations.
You bring up a good point. I know you had been talking once before about what do you call it? The spheres. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have a visual eventually. Haven't got it done
Uh-huh.
yet.
Yeah,
But
because I know like the more you branch away, like the more you get away from the main movement. But I think the the different variations could be a wonderful way to start incorporating or addressing those weaknesses. Like like for example, we'll use Squatober as the example here, right? So we squatted every single day for the last 30 days, right? Um, in terms of like variation and modification, if anything, we had tempos and pauses, right? We had the change to a front squat on the rare occasion. Um, there wasn't a whole lot of exercise variety, right? We had bent over rows, we had shrugs, farmer carries, back squats, front squats, deadlifts, RDLs, and that was pretty much it, right? So in
Reverse
terms of
lunges, stuff like that, but
yeah, and lunges, you're right. I forgot about that.
split squats.
Mhm.
There wasn't like a tremendous amount though in terms of like we did a lot of percentage changing, but I felt like for me, for example, I'll use myself as an example. In terms of like what I think I would have needed more for myself was more addressing of like where I'm weak at. I know that's my upper back. I've been working on that for the last year. And I think that because I basically took a good month and a half, maybe 2 months from like getting back into like the heavier good mornings, I could definitely tell as soon as I was putting bars above 480, my back immediately, like I could feel that in my upper back before I felt it anywhere else. So to kind of get back to where I was squatting at before, I definitely know exactly where I'm going to go right away. And I'm going to utilize a variety of different approaches to do that, whether if it's utilizing more front squats, because we only front squatted what?
3
Maybe
times.
4 times? That was
Yeah.
it, 3 or 4 times. So like I feel like the upper back wasn't targeted a tremendous amount, at least not to the degree that I think we maybe could have. But like being able to hit those variations to address upper back weakness, I think would have been a tremendous asset for that month of programming. And like the rear foot elevated split squats and the split squat weren't bad, but like that was not necessarily a big weakness for me. So like that's maybe something I could have subbed out and used a different variation of like maybe something a little harder, or maybe incorporating loading in a different pattern. Like instead of having dumbbells, maybe I put it back up here on my back, so I'm still focusing on the back rack or a front rack. I don't know. That's just a few little observations I've kind of gleaned off that so far. I'm still going to go back and look at like my notes that I have written down and be like, where did I kind of mess up? Because I'm not going to lie, my PR party last night sucked. Like I came in half-assed. I could tell it. As soon as I got 500, 500 wasn't bad. I tried going up and I just died. Like there's no gas left in the tank in my back. Like, and where I fold at wasn't my legs. My legs could have kept going. It was literally I got halfway up and whoop. I was like, okay, that's where I suck at. Oh man, I was not happy last night. But I mean, how often do I take an entire 30 days and just back squat every day? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. So, I mean, I don't know,
But
Brandon. What did you kind of feel, or what were you gonna say, Charlie?
I'm sorry, I just want to chime in real quick.
Okay.
But that's like another big part of the variations that people need to think of too. Some variations are not set up for you to win. Like they are set
Mhm.
up for you. It's a tester and a builder. So like your testing ones are there, like they're like the fun ones, right? So they're the ones, like a reverse band. So you get to feel more weight on your back or whatever variation you like, right? But then like your builders are the one that is going to help everything else. And like it's just attacking your weaknesses, but it's a lot harder on mentally those days because you're just like, dude, shit. Like I know this variation sucks. Like bands, for example, I'm terrible with bands. Like it sucks. I'm 6'3". So like I get bands the entire time. Like they they do not let go. and um and like yeah, they suck. So I know like when there's a variation with bands, like I need to greatly lower my expectations because it's going to be a long ride. And then once those bands come off and I can like really use like my strengths or whatever, then it helps. But yeah, so don't think about like variation as a negative. It's if you can hone it and you can like condense it all and not go too crazy, then it can be very beneficial. So back to Squatober, Brandon.
Yeah. I mean, I got the same weakness as you. That's why I low bar. Like I don't high bar too often because I got a weak upper back. So that's why I personally low bar. Then like you start getting into my femurs are a little long, so for me to high bar and my stiff ankles is not a very mechanical, optimal position for me to be in. So that's one other reason why I low bar. But my upper back's also weak. But that's the first time I've done shrugs and farmer carries pretty consecutively through the weeks. So we probably did at least a shrug or a farmer carry 2 or 3 times that week. So I definitely felt that part of my upper back was getting a little stronger. I mean, that's the first time I've attempted 455 or anything above that raw in a free squat probably since last Squatober, and I'm 22 pounds lighter, so hitting the same weight that I hit last year. I mean, I was not mad about that. Really didn't have any breakdowns. But I think I'm going to go through this high bar squat phase just to see if I can start building my upper back that way. Start getting into some more like rack pulls, and I'm going to keep doing the farmer carries, the shrugs. I'm going to throw in some yoke bar walks. Just kind of get back into probably do some reverse bands, just to get some more top weight up. Because if I do fail, it's always in the hole. So just kind of get my nervous system ready for that kind of stuff. So that's going to be my kind of variations, and I'm going to make changes on my personal waves.
Yeah, you guys both bring up very good points. Like the whole concept of like individual, accessories. So like, and you try to bringing up the builders, because like I definitely know that like if my good mornings go up, my back squat skyrockets. And like if I can do like I think you had actually put me through like what I eventually came to call back again, basically the reverse hyper hell that you had me doing, and then the good mornings. When my back was conditioned to do like the 100 reps with, I think it was 90 pounds on each side, and I could get through majority of those in like maybe 2 or 3 sets. I knew that plus when my good mornings at my 3x5 or my 5x5 were over 315, my back squat was gonna be up there by like a ton. And like I know I haven't touched those in the last 2 or 3 months. Just it's a bunch of things. It's not just like the fact that I'm not working out as much as I need to, but it's like I'm not sleeping as well as I need to. I'm not eating nearly as much as I used to about 3 months ago. So like it's a culmination of things. But at the end of the day, I know I haven't been touching my builders, and like my variations have just been subpar. And I know where I need to get stronger at. But that's why like talking about exercise variation and finding what worked for you is good. But then you need to take those builders and find ways to change that stimulus so you continue to make progress. Like we've done, I mean, I'll just list a few different variations of like the good mornings that like I've been doing. We did the concentric only good morning, which I absolutely I hated, because I went from being like, oh yeah, I could do good mornings with like 275, 315. This is great. And you're like, okay, let's go heavier and let's do it. Yeah, I was like, oh God, okay, here we go. So then after that, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to either barf, pass out, or both. And then we changed the reverse hypers to, I can't remember what load it even was, but we did like 40% or something like that.
50% of back squat.
That's what it was. And I don't remember my lower back having more blood in it the following, like I literally felt like I had a back pump for 3 days straight, and it was horrible, and I felt atrocious going to bed. But then like I noticed big changes in my back squat. So like we've changed the reverse hyper, we've changed the good morning, and I was still seeing progress. And like we did like what, 6 week waves? No, 3 week. We did
3 week.
2-3 week waves. And like I'm trying to think, at that point I was using a low box squat with the squat safety bar, and I had like a 40-pound jump in 6 weeks. It was insane. But it was also kind of scary and fun, because it was like I took the things that I, like you were kind of already saying, that I hated, and I was seeing these big progressions. And like I haven't hit like a 40-pound PR in probably 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's like it made sense. It made almost too much sense. It was scary.
Well, I knew that one just from experience, because when I got to Westside, I used a lot of my low back because like my upper back wasn't that strong.
Mhm.
So then like the carryover was just awful. At that point, I had almost gone, and I've told this story before, I believe, within this last year, but
Mhm.
I almost went like 3 years or 4 years without a deadlift PR. Like I was stuck. I could not pull over it. It didn't matter. And what Lou did in like the training group is I didn't deadlift. So if they were deadlifting, I was doing good mornings. Oh, and vice versa. And we did heavy good mornings. I mean, like heavy. Like when I first got there, I remember I think I did 315 or 365, something like that. And we did it for 5. And I remember like they just kept going up. Like, I mean, my training partners, like the one, he's a massive human being, but he was doing 800 for his good mornings. Like he's so strong. But his deadlift is over 800, and he damn near pulled 900. Like he's a strong individual. But
Jeez,
like
Pete.
I'm not saying that it's like an end all be all, but if you're neglecting your good mornings, just try them. Like it can't
Mhm.
hurt. Because I did them for 3 months, and then we went to a meet and I pulled a 30-pound PR, like easy.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and now like I don't think I've since 2021, I don't think I've pulled less than 700 in a meet. And I could never touch it. I tried it for years. From the time that I started powerlifting, I couldn't touch it. You know?
That's like nonchalant. You just pull it.
Yeah.
Jeez, Pete.
So yeah. Sometimes you just need to do the things that suck.
Progress. Pressure makes diamonds, right?
Yeah. Or it'll make you shit want to do. Peyton knows.
Peyton knows.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
But I mean, I think personally speaking, and just going into my diary here pretty much, like I know like getting back into powerlifting and getting into the numbers that I was hitting before, like
Mhm.
there's a lot of mental stuff going on where like I know what it took to get to the level that like I was at. I
Mhm.
don't know if like you eventually reach a point where like I don't know if it's worth it anymore. Cause like if it took that much effort to just to get there, what's it gonna
Mhm.
take to get to the next step after that? And
Mhm.
then like if you're a competitor whatsoever, that you're never satisfied. So it's like, okay, well, like I could do one more, and then you
Yeah.
just start this rabbit hole, and then you're that old man that can't do shit in a meet. So I never wanted to be that. Let alone, I mean, like I don't have kids yet, but like it would be cool to be able to get down on the ground and play with my kids, like when we're older. So that'd be pretty neat.
That'd be a nice goal.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
yeah,
uh, I agree with you. I mean, I would say last night kind of lit a fire. Like I was actually pretty pissed last night.
yeah.
You can ask my wife. I was not content with what I did, and I could tell because like just the progression over the last month has just sucked. Like I just felt horrendous. Like that first week, I basically had to start putting on. I think I started adding like at least 500 plus calories into my food again, just to like not feel like I was dying each day. Um, but yeah, it was not a fun progress. Did not like it. But no, I'm gonna start writing my own stuff again, kind of like I was doing before. Um, just so I can kind of get back into the swing of things. I need to start being more consistent in the gym again. Like this felt more like, as much as I love doing Squatober, like I felt like I was forcing myself into a place where like I didn't necessarily, like in my mind I'm thinking this isn't a great thing. You shouldn't be squatting every day. Is it possible? Yes, but with adequate sleep and hydration, all that stuff. But like I could just tell I was working against myself on a lot of things, and like even just mentally, I was just not there.
That's a big variation though.
Yeah.
Mentally, I think that if you are to switch to a program or switch to a different method, like I personally believe that you should do it for at least a year before you can write it off or not.
Mhm.
But in like this case of like Squatober, like it's a month, so just buy into it. Just
Yeah.
go as hard as you can, because then at the end of the month you can either say like, oh well, this didn't work for me because it just didn't work, or was it
Mhm.
because like I was just mentally checked out after like day 3. So
Mhm.
that's my take.
Yeah, no, that's and like they even tell you like you need to be eating so much and you need to be getting at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I can tell you right now, I was maybe averaging 6 hours. I could probably even check my little tracker that I got, and I guarantee you, I was maybe averaging 6 if I was lucky. Um, Food wise, like I already said, I had to start adding. I had to like start tracking and making sure I was getting enough calories, just because I knew with the amount of load that we were moving in volume compared to what I was doing before, I was nowhere near what I needed food wise. It was like I could just tell because my joints were aching like crazy. My muscles were constantly sore. I never felt like I ever like actually recovered from the day before, and everything just. I think I even sent like Brandon meme that was like, "That's my secret. I'm always sore." I
That's
was
it,
like,
dude.
the
That's
downs can never get me because I'm constantly in a state of repair.
dude, the first 2 weekends, bro, I was still like getting on a belt squat, dude, doing some little squats, just keeping that rhythm going.
just keeping it alive. It really sucked. I'm not gonna lie. Do I hate Squatober? No, I don't hate it. I just think if you're gonna commit to that, you're gonna use a training max. One, that's number one way to go about it. Two, like you need to make sure like your food is dialed in because I could tell I was severely under eating for the amount of training I was doing. And I could just tell it was a big change. As soon as I started eating more, I started feeling so much better, but I still never felt like I was recovering 100%. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of things I would kind of go back and I still need to go through my notes again and kind of see where I was going wrong because I know sleep was one thing and that's a big part of recovery. Um, but no, like I mean, my squat really went backwards, like really went backwards on the recovery side of things. It was not good, and I think that's honestly a big part of it. But then there's a whole bunch of other things as well. Like I said, um, so kind of going back to our, I guess you could even talk about, we said the law of accommodation. Um, we could even maybe talk about like overtraining a little bit because I mean I think that's actually what maybe even I was getting into a little bit, but I wouldn't say more along the lines of like muscle overtraining as much as was just like my nervous system just not being able to like I kid you not, there was one day when we had like 50 or 65% on 55 or 65% on like pauses, and I had like 225 on the bar before I even got up to the 65%, and I was already shaking. I was like, oh, this is great. This is not great. Cool. It felt like dog shit, but
Yeah.
hey, we live and learn. We live and learn. But anything else you guys want to add on the wonderful world of exercise variations, or maybe anything you guys have like come to like little pearls for people? Like, what would be like an amount of time where you realize, okay, like this exercise, like I've been with this exercise for how many weeks? So like waves compared to block programming, when like we could get into those weeds like way more if you really wanted to, because I feel like when you have someone who's doing block programming, sometimes exercise variation and like you already have things set up. I mean, what are you going to do? Just completely rewrite what you already have planned out? Or that's why the 3 week waves, in my opinion, is nice, because if you realize it's not working, you can change it. Right. And then plus every other week or every week, sometimes I'm changing my main lift on max effort days. So it's like, I don't know. What else would you guys want to add on that? Because feel like I'm a little hyped up still from Squatober last night, so that's where my brain's constantly going.
Oh, I like well, especially when you're working with like athletes, like the kids that are newer. The first week of that, say you're doing a Zercher squat or whatever it may be, is the variation for that 3 week block phase. First week is kind of the introduction week. The 2nd week, they're kind of getting a little feel for it. The 3rd week is when they're really going to kind of get a feel and they want to send some big weight.
Yeah.
So that 3 week progression for them on that same lift it's kind of like that builder up to the last week where we do kind of extend it a little bit more. So that's why I like that 3-week block base for that. You get to more like the advanced lifters. You might do the high bar 1 week, the low bar the next week, then you might do a free or a box. So the variation I think is a little bit more free range to test or to move. If it didn't work, it didn't work, you can adjust it quicker. But for the newer athlete that's got the newbie gains, things like that 3-week grace period to kind of get a feel for it, I think is appropriate.
I agree.
Yeah. And just to give like a normal or a typical physical therapist answer, it depends. Depends on the athlete.
It always depends, Leo. So.
Yeah. I mean, it
I
really does. It's just hard to say. Like there's some athletes where I don't know, they could do like one variation and then the next week it's even lower. Like, so it's just like, oh, okay, did you just have a fluke week like last week? And then you come back and you try it again and suddenly it's even worse. So then now it's just all in their head and they're forever going to hate that situation or that variation. What's up, Suze?
Welcome to my shit show.
Yeah.
Right. The exciting life of Brandon Wehrig.
Yeah.
No, I think with what I've kind of gotten into, like, especially reading a lot of the books that like you've given me, Trotter, and like what I've bought off of like the conjugate that I bought. I feel like I've been liking to see. I mean, anyone's going to like to see the gains that you can get with immediate changes and variations, right? I actually love seeing that. But then, like, just being able to have the opportunity to entice myself with a new wave, I'm constantly liking where I'm like, okay, I'm recording my squat. I can see where I'm weak at. And so like exercise variation has now become how do I address the next weakness? Or how do I maintain my next progression and then address a weakness words. So like you and I have already talked about, like with the good mornings and like the reverse hyper, like there was 1 week we did good mornings and then another day, I went and retested my free squat. Upper back was great. Then it was just, I got stuck in the middle. So it was like, okay, let's address that, but you're still going to be doing good mornings to maintain the back. And now we're going to address that midpoint in the ascent of the squat. So it was like, there's constantly opportunities and you just got to make sure you're doing your due diligence to record those weaknesses so that you can make more informed decisions on those variations. That I think is a big tidbit for people, but that's just myself, I guess experiment.
It takes time. I mean, that's a lot of it is trial and error. Like, a lot of the things that like, Brandon and I preach in the gym, it was things that we did when we were in high school or college that like, this was a waste of time. So like we're cutting out like that. We're trimming the fat, for instance, right? And not to mention the countless hours of just free time that we spend studying, watching, like not film, but like watching other coaches and like picking their brains and like all this other stuff. Like, I mean, we're taking a lot of information and trying to like hone it all in. So then we are giving our athletes the best chance possible to be as successful as they possibly can be in the quickest amount of time. So, and that's like tough to do as well, because, if you've heard it before, like if we can just start going on a tangent, then all of a sudden, we're 20, 30 minutes deep in a rant and we're going back and forth on why this method would work versus this one. And then we're using athletes as an example. And then, suddenly it's like, dude, we're missing the whole point of just like making sure that all of our athletes are getting better.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It's like going to look for a zebra when all you got is horses.
Yeah.
I like it.
You just need a can of spray paint.
Oh my God. Oh, very nice. Well, I enjoyed that. I feel like I got a lot off my shoulders now after I've been able to rant a little. So thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
But
I'll point out the obvious here. Check out Brandon's bicep pumps just from carrying Peyton here.
Bro, my right arm is dead right now.
Yeah. That is another variation. It's called the ISO baby hold.
My upper back's getting stronger from just doing this, to be honest with
you. Don't worry, Peyton. You can watch this later. Oh man. You did good today, buddy. You did good.
Yeah.
Got his little slobber attack going on right now, but we're hanging in there.
Nice. Very nice. No. But before we let everybody go here, another little tidbit. Next weekend, we will be sitting down with Flex Health from England. Very excited about that. Get to sit down with Alex and a few of his coworkers. Alex Chester, I believe. So we hope you guys tune in for that. I'm pretty pumped about that. Been waiting on that one for a while and it's finally come to fruition. So hope you guys tune in for that. We hope you guys enjoy the weekend. All right. Take care, guys.